Hello everyone! Today I have something very special to review. This is a GPD Win. Now before I get into it, let me tell you how I got here. I got this from gearbest.com, it was given to me, and they gave it away, and all they asked was that I give them a plug on my channel, which I thought was very fair, so I was like, yeah, sure, agreed. And yeah, so they didn't give me any instructions on how to review this, and they are not reviewing this video before it goes up. I'm not being paid for this. So yeah, that's pretty much the extent of the deal. They didn't really give me a lot of details. I don't really think they care about like how I review it though, because they're not the manufacturer. So they're just like, whatever, just give us a plug on our website. So yeah, a big thank you goes out to them. I know that this is a device that people have been asking me to review, and so yeah, we owe them a big thank you. I always follow the development of this device, as you saw in the Smash Z video. I was following the development of it, but I never really planned on getting one. I know that sounds kind of funny, but it's kind of like cars. I'm also a car guy, but there are tons of cars that I research, that I look into how they work, and I'm never going to drive them. I just follow it because it's interesting. And just like tech, this is something that I followed because it was interesting. All right, and here we go, just unboxing it. I blanked this out because this is the Windows 10 key, and I think if you get that, then you have access to my soul or something. So anyways, here's the actual device, and we'll get into that in a second. Oh, and by the way, my device, it was manufactured on 420, bro! Yeah. Alright, next we have... I like how they have little symbols and everything on them. I already took out most of the contents. I couldn't help myself. This is not the original unboxing. I just dived into this thing because I couldn't wait. Once I got it home, I was like, I gotta see what's in here. So it's really just regular cheap headphones and power cord with USB Type-C. Got it over here, let me show you. Yeah, so just power brick, USB, and then USB Type-C. This is the first USB Type-C device I've ever owned, so very exciting stuff. All right, and then, wait, which one did I already look at? Oh, and then this was just a little power brick. All right, so yeah, very normal. Screen protector, which I keep forgetting, I need to put that on there. Then right here, these are just manuals, so where they open. I don't think it matters. But yeah, just regular manuals for this thing. I think, is this one only in Chinese? No, it's not. Okay, then operating instruction manual. Yeah. So this is a Windows laptop handheld hybrid thing. You'll see it once I turn it on. But in fact, let's just get into it because that's going to be the best way to show you guys. And before we do that, though, let me show you that this is actually one of the later models of it. It goes through different versions, different revisions in its production. And this is the black metal case version. However, that's only half true. You're going to see that in just a second. Let me show you. All right. So here it is in all of its glory. Oh, this thing is beautiful. And yeah, so the reason I said it's only half true, though, is because this top part, that is aluminum. And then the bottom part and everything else, it's all plastic. You could see it right there on the hinge, how... There we go, that's a good shot. How you see this is all, aluminum, and then over here it's that, kind of gravelly, sort of plasticky stuff. Okay, so anyways, let's go ahead and open it up. And yeah, so as you can see, it's like a little handheld. It's got game controls right here, so really this is a Windows 10 PC that just has game controls on it. It has a little keyboard right here, which is absolutely useless. You are not going to be doing a lot of speed typing on this thing. However, is it on? I think I need it powered on. Okay, yeah, I guess it was off. Anyways, though, but yeah, you're not gonna... What? Okay, so that's funny because I charged this thing last night and then now it ran out of power and I barely used it today. I turned it on just to play with a couple games and I don't know why it ran out of power like that. That is not good. That's not good for the battery when it goes into the red, and yeah, that's pretty concerning right there. I don't know. Let's get into that in just a second, but in the meantime, let me go ahead and show you a little bit about the device, a little walk around of it. So anyways, you have USB Type-C right here on this side, and then right here is HDMI out. It's not micro HDMI out, but it's like that mini HDMI out, just a little bit smaller than full size. Then SD cards, which I hear that's not a good thing to use with this because I don't know. I think after a certain time they time out or something. I was just looking on a forum. I don't know if it's true. Maybe I'll have to test it myself and see what happens there. Then you have USB 3.0, and then you have R1, well, L1, L2, R1, R2, which I hate. I hate that design right there because it's just so stupid. You can only have one finger on there, and then it feels like, for the R1 and L1, you have to sort of do it with that end of your finger. It's bad. I don't like that at all. That's the reason why I don't own, a 3DS or anything, because that is not very intuitive for me. I don't like using it like that, and I understand why they did it. There's not really any room so that they could stack them one on top of the other, but I don't like it. And obviously that's a headphone jack. Now on the back side, you have the different fan speeds right here. You have, I think that's no fan or very little. I think it's no fan off. And then you have in the middle, sort of on. And I don't know if that's automatic though. Maybe. I'm not sure. I'll try to find out for you guys. And then that is fan on all the time. And as you can see, I have it set to the fan on all the time because it actually doesn't use up that much battery. And when the device goes to sleep, then it turns off the fan. So again, that kind of puzzles me as to why this thing ran out of battery right here. Hopefully I'll find out, but I don't know. It does have a few quirks. And by the way, the fan is right here. That's not a speaker. The intake is right here. The exhaust for the fan is up here. So you can feel heat coming out, but thankfully it's sort of away from your hands. But we'll get into that in just a bit. The speakers, you seem to have two right here, but I could swear I only heard a sound coming out of this one. So that's a bit of an issue right there. You probably want to use headphones with this. And let's see, QC65. If this thing has quality problems, I'm coming after you, number 65. And let's go ahead and open it up. And you should be able to hinge all the way back so that it's flat. And yeah, I guess with the C cord you can still do that. And it has these little stops right here on each side, so you can barely see it, but yeah, so you could lay it that flat, but normal, of course, is like that right there. So that's pretty cool. Now, let's see if it'll turn on, hopefully. Oh, 5% battery. Okay. Well, you know what? I need to wait for this thing to charge a little bit, and then I could get into it, so give me a little bit of time, okay? Alright guys, we're back, and it's actually been a couple days since I did that unboxing video, the initial unboxing. This is the only unboxing I could think of in recent memory where I've had to split it up because there was a problem. Anyways, now I should be able to finally turn it on, so it's in sleep mode. Wake up. Wake up. Uh-oh. Are you there? Oh, wonderful. Just wonderful. Come on. Alright, let's try this again. Come on. There we go. I do not know what is going on with this thing. I just had to do a hard reset, and so you see, it's an issue. I'm having an issue with startup on this thing, and I don't know what it is. So I'm not going to start making any determinations, any diagnosis right now, because I'm terrible at that with PCs. But I don't know what it is. A friend of mine tells me that it could just be related to Windows 10. Who knows? But as you can see, it's having some issues because even with that last one, as you guys saw the little blue light, it was on sleep mode. I tap it, nothing happens. And so I had to do a hard reset. So either way, this thing, it's having quirks and I don't know what the cause of it is. But I'm sure that I'm going to blame quality control number 65 for it. So please, hand in your resignation. Anyways, yeah, let's get into the controls. I think that's where I left off last time. The controls are not bad. Like I said, I hate these right here, these shoulder buttons. I don't like the design, but I understand why they did it. The face buttons, the analog sticks actually feel really good. And now I could show you on screen. The right analog stick, it moves around the mouse. And the left analog stick, it scrolls. So, one of my friends is playing a game. Anyways, yeah, you could go ahead and scroll up, down, side to side with these. And then the shoulder buttons, they are your right mouse click, left mouse click. So that's left and right. I wish they had actually swapped it though, so that way you can go ahead and just use your hand. Well, why am I even letting myself to that joke? Yes, so that you could use one-handed computer. You could get one-handed computer use. That wonderful. Yeah, so I wish that they had swapped that so you have your left mouse click on the right shoulder buttons. I don't know if there's a way to change it. I hope so. But let me tell you about this little switch right here. This switch determines how the analog sticks and the buttons work. So you see you have D, which I looked in the manual, and that actually stands for... Did it focus? I'm not sure. Anyways, the D right here on the left stands for direct input, and I guess that's for like older PC titles. And then the middle, that is what you'll be using mostly, and that is like, you know, the mouse, like I said. You see this part right here. It just uses the mouse right here in the mouse button clicks. And then the X right there is for Xbox input, like 360 input. So that is the X input for these controls right here. And it works pretty well. The controls, I like the trigger buttons actually, the shoulder buttons. They have a nice satisfying click to them, just like a mouse click. The face buttons though, they're not the best. You see, it does left mouse click. There we go, get out. Anyways, the face buttons, they are a little mushy. They're a little spongy, I guess is the best way to describe it. With the shoulder buttons, they have a satisfying click. You could tell when you made contact when it's actually clicking. And but with the face buttons, it's a little more muddy. It's not as easy to tell when you... Please, Mackie, stop. I'm in the middle of something. It's not as easy to tell when you're actually making contact with the button, and that could be a problem with platformers and whatnot. Maybe I'm just having a hard time getting used to these controls, but the D-pad has the same problem. It feels like they're a little bit too raised, even though they don't look it. Well, the D-pad kind of, you could tell right there that it's a little bit too high up right there, and that does become an issue. At least it doesn't bottom out, though. That's good. So at least I can put my thumb here and still engage all directions. Yeah, so I've been using this thing. I've been using it a lot, as you can see. I got a lot of games I've been testing on this so far. I'm right in the middle of my test, so I've been running a lot of games, a lot of Steam games. I should be hitting emulation pretty soon, and I'm going to withhold on any judgment as far as software or game compatibility goes, because I'm just not that deep into the review right now to where I could give my best opinion on it. So software-wise, I'm going to hold off. I'm going to see if I could find out what power problem it's having, what startup problem, battery draining problem it's having, because I'm baffled by that. I don't know what is going on there. I did order one of those, I ordered a Samsung little USB drive things, so I'll be able to test that out, see if it works well. And yeah, so that's what it is. Right now I'm in the middle of the review. One thing I forgot to mention though, the L3, R3, I was really surprised that these analog sticks, they don't push in. Maybe they did that as a durability issue or something. But the L3 and R3 are down here, which is really strange. I don't like that at all. Especially because usually those are buttons that you want good access to, for sprinting or crouching, whatever. And but yeah, the keyboard is useless. Do not worry about that. As a matter of fact, I wish they had actually not used it and instead used this little keyboard. And yes, Mackie is tearing something apart in the background. I am going to lay down the law with him. But I wish they had just used that instead of the full keyboard. But I understand why they did this. There are a lot of questionable designs that I can understand why they did it. But there are sometimes when they're just a little bit more of an annoyance than they should be. But one of the things I do like is that because this is a full Windows, PC, there are times when I need to get out of a program and it won't let me. So I have to do Control-Alt-Delete, and it's just the most adorable thing to have your thumb here, Control-Alt-Delete. Oh, that it just tickles me when I do that. It's really interesting to have a device like this, just a PC in your hands. And but yeah, I'm right in the middle of my review, so I will get back to you guys in just a minute with my thoughts, my conclusion for this device. Right now it's up in the air. I do not know if I could recommend it, but I should let you guys know in just a few minutes. Oh, yoink. Alright, I'm ready to give my final verdict on the GPD Win, and I've been lugging this thing around for about a month now, and it's been holding up pretty well. I was afraid that it was going to get a lot of scratches, scuffs, maybe something breaks on it, and that's because I didn't have a case for this, and I didn't get one because I wanted to just find out how this thing holds up to a month of just regular use. And it's been holding up well, but I do have a few scratches on the aluminum case. You see right there, I don't even know if you could see it, and also right there, these two little micro dots, and this one is the most noticeable one though. So yeah, I do pick up a case for this. I also have a little scuff over here, which isn't down to the metal, but that is a scuff that is not rubbing out. So yeah, make sure you get a case for this, and that way you can protect the aluminum. And that's why I kind of liked it, that it was only, you know, half true that it was an aluminum model, because the bottom, I know that even with these little feet right here, if you guy around and it'll just move around, then you'll be getting a lot more scuffs that way. So I'm glad that the underside is actually plastic. Now, as far as the little restart issue that I was having, I have figured out that, at least from going to the forums and seeing other people complain about it, there doesn't seem to be a very easy way to resolve that. I haven't seen any way that you could just, you know, do an update or anything to resolve the restart issue, the battery issue, whatever that was. It just happens. And so that's very frustrating. You cannot just close the device or hit the little power button and then expect it to just go into sleep mode. It doesn't work like that, and that's very inconvenient. You actually have to go into the Windows menu and then hit the little power button and then sleep, and that's the best way to turn it off. Well, not turn it off, but put it in hibernation. Now, that is a big problem, though, because knowing that you have that issue, imagine that you're about to go to work, and then so you have this left overnight. The best course is just to turn it off altogether, so that way it's using no battery. And so let's say you just have it right there. You don't even see the light because it's turned off. You're about to grab this to go to work. How do you know this thing isn't dead? How do you know that it is just shut off but it has a full battery? There's not really an easy way to know, and there's sometimes when I was about to go to work and I was about to pick this up, and before I picked it up I was like, wait a second, is this thing charged or not? And then the only way to know is to turn it on, and by rebooting it, and that eats up battery, and that also takes up time. When you're about to leave, you need to figure out, is this thing going to be dead or not once I get to my destination? So that is very, very inconvenient. Otherwise, they all have little fiddly things wrong with them. I'm not having a lot of problems with mine, but every now and then I have little issues. Like this morning, I was just using it. I think I hooked up the USB-C to start charging it while I was playing. And then all the controls went out. Everything. Nothing was working control-wise. Nothing at all. Only the touchscreen was working. And so thankfully it had that. So I was able to go into the menu and then, you know, do restart. But for a second, none of these buttons were working. And it was only after I restarted that everything was back to normal. So that happened like just, I'm not kidding you, maybe about an hour or two ago. So again, they all have these little fiddly problems. There was another issue that I had just last night, actually. Scared the crap out of me. It was down to like, I think 20% battery, and then I went ahead and plugged up the USB so I could start charging it, and then the little light right here, which usually glows red when you're charging, it started flickering really crazy like. And so I was like, oh, what the hell? So I think I turned it off right then, but then it wouldn't turn back on at all. Like holding this down, everything, it would not turn on. And so I left it charging for a little while, and for a second, like, well, not even for a second, for about 30 minutes, I was like, oh my God, I bricked this thing the day before I'm supposed to do my final review, my final verdict on this. It breaks on me. I bricked it, and I don't even know what I did. I didn't do anything wrong. But no, after charging it for about 30 minutes, then it finally did power on. And that's another thing that I have to complain about. If it's under 20%, sometimes this thing just won't even turn on. It'll tell you like a little battery icon like you saw in the first part of the video. It'll tell you like, hey, this is really low battery, I'm not going to turn on. But I didn't expect it to happen like at the 20-30% mark. So it seems to have a little will of its own as far as whether it's going to turn on with low battery or not. So that's something you have to keep in mind, that even though this does have pretty decent battery life, I would guess maybe about 4 to 5 hours, you might not get all of it because there will come a point where it just won't turn on once it gets to a certain percentage. So again, little fiddly things. Everybody seems to have an issue. Hardware-wise, I did notice one issue. I don't even know if it shipped like this if I had it new, but I'm having this issue. Let me see if I could do it correctly. All right, you see that? It has a little bit of slack in its hinge. So, and watch, let me open this up. And as you can see, it's got a little bit of that slack, you see. So that does not feel quality, but it is what it is. And let's see. Okay. Every time it sleeps, I'm like, please wake up. Please wake up. Now, as for the games, I've been testing a lot of these right here. They've all been doing really well, especially with older indies, platformers. Those are doing well. I did have an issue with Downwell, which I'm going to go ahead and open right now so you can see what happens there. It turns out that Downwell does not work on this, and I'm going to show you why in just a minute once it opens up Steam. Here we go. Alright, let me make sure that it's got sound, but I wonder, can you hear it? No, I don't think so. Okay, there we go. Alright, you see, it is totally working. You can hear the sounds of Downwell, the jumping and everything. You see, there you go. There's the guns and everything on your feet. But you see it's not working at all. And look, even Alt-Enter. Ah, there we go. Okay, you see, that's how it works now. It'll work windowed, but not full screen. The reason that it's doing that is because for some reason Downwell does not work on 720p screens, and this is a 720p screen. So therefore, Downwell, it doesn't work on full screen mode. You see, now I'm in full screen, and it doesn't work. But if I do this, then Downwell works just fine. I guess you can play it like that, but it just sucks that it won't work in full screen, because I prefer that instead of windowed mode. I had the same problem with the game 12 is Better Than 6. So, yeah, if you're in 720p, that could be a problem. If the game does not support that. Now, I was having another problem with my favorite indie game of all time, Tiny and Big, Grandpa's Leftovers. I love that game. It's my favorite indie game of all time. And when I installed this, I'm going to show you guys a picture of this. I've never seen this warning before. When I installed it, it said that this game does not support Intel chips or something like that, and so running this game may cause it to fail miserably or something like that. I have never seen that warning before, but thankfully that was not an issue because the game works just perfectly fine with this. But still, I have never seen that warning ever show up on any PC I've ever owned. Let me see. I'm also having a problem with texture mapping. In Rain World, the character is white colored, but then on this, the character was black colored, and I was like, okay, well, maybe early on in the story, the character is, black, but then, becomes, a white colored character later. But no, it just turns out that it was having a problem with the GPD Win. On the actual PC, it worked just fine, and the character was white there as well. So again, it's having these little texture problems, and that also leads me into another discussion with indies on this thing. Like I said, with the older indies, they actually work just fine, but with newer ones, including Rain World, even though they're 2D, and Rain World looks like a very simple game, but it's actually very complicated, especially the AI and the way that their movements and their animations work. That is actually very complicated. It's deceptively complex. I think it's more of a problem that just newer games are becoming more demanding. Even the 2D ones are starting to outpace this. So that's something you should really think of. Same problem I had with Spark the Electric Jester. It also has some issues there. But older games work just fine. There are certain games that I even beat on this for the first time. Ziguard, which I really recommend playing with a mouse and keyboard. But with these controls, it worked just fine. And yeah, this is the first time I've ever beaten it with that. Caro Blaster, I just beat, I'm not kidding you, less than an hour ago, I beat Caro Blaster, all played on this. Another game that I played, which one was it? Grow Home, there you go. I played Grow Home on this, I beat it, I had beaten it previously on a PC, and, or no, I think it was PS4. But anyways, on this one, it chugs along in the, teens or the 20s frame per second, and so it's not pretty, but the game itself is very minimal, but it was sort of right there at the limit of what this thing can handle. So it was playable. I beat the game, on this, even though it was having low frame rate issues. But yeah, that is like right there at the limit of what this thing can do. That game is pretty complicated with all the physics-y stuff that it does. Alright, then Half-Life 2 works on this thing. That blew my mind because I remember in high school, I had a friend who built a PC just to play Half-Life 2. Like, that was the purpose of his build. And now I have a handheld that can play Half-Life 2, and it does it very well at the recommended settings for this device. It was playing it at, I'm not kidding, 110 frames per second. And then I clocked it down with, I added in some anti-aliasing and a little bit of blur. so that way it could just run a little bit smoother, and it just runs very well with this thing. Hovers around the 50 and 60 frames per second range, so that was really good. And the only thing that I noticed from it was that with that one especially, it gets very hot. This device, the CPU is right here in this area, and it gets very, very hot. You can feel the heat coming in through the analog nubs, and it's very noticeably warm. Also on the back side, I think I hold the handheld like most people would, and you could feel it in your fingers. This little fan with getting rid of heat, it works, but it doesn't work as well as you would hope it to. And also Portal works as well. I've never played Portal. I hear that one's pretty demanding because when you throw a portal, you have to have the other side load in. And so I heard that could make it a little bit demanding, but this one works just fine. Again, about 60 frames per second. I had a very good experience with that game. I probably will beat it on this. Now, when it comes to emulation, I really wanted to try PS2 because that is my favorite console, and if I could carry a PS2 in my pocket, oh my god, that would be instantly recommended. Instantly. And let me see. Yeah, let me tell you the games I tried. Gregory Horror Show works perfectly, absolutely no issues, but it's a very simple game. It doesn't have a lot of polygons on screen at a time. It's very simple. Ace Combat 4 did not work well, but I also tried it on my desktop, and it doesn't work well there either. It's just a game that gives the emulator a really good run for its money, and so I can't blame all the issues on this. Mercenaries did not load. Urban Chaos, I don't think that one loaded either. Again, those are sort of demanding games. The Simpsons Hidden Run is totally playable. That was such a relief. I was like, oh yes, I love that game. I love it. And so, yes, you can play it on here. It's not at the best frame rate, but I would say maybe around the 20s, with frame rate. But yeah, it is totally playable. And that's something you're going to hear me say a lot, the phrase totally playable, because with this device, it is very limited. So when something is playable, sometimes that's all I ask for. Now, Maximo, that is a really good one to test because you can see basically how this thing can... Wait. Oh, shoot. Okay. Wrong one. Yeah, this thing, the touchscreen, can be a little bit of an issue sometimes, but it is more accurate than you think it is. So let's boot into Maximo. Oh, this is the first game that I tried, and I was like, yes, I love Maximo. It's so good. Now, let's see. Come on. Yeah, turn it down just a little. All right. Oh, another thing that I should tell you is that on Steam, when you're using it, if you go into Steam mode where you do Shift-Tab, you could see a little battery readout. So that's really cool. I didn't know the team did that. Steam. I did not know that Steam would do that for mobile devices. So, because I never thought that Steam even considered supporting them. Anyways, here we go. Oh, yes. This game is awesome, and it runs at, again, that phrase, a very playable frame rate. So I was very, very pleasantly surprised with this. Here we go. But yeah, this thing works just well. And it's the reason that I said that it's very good to test this thing is because you can tell that it's a little bit slower than it should be. And I did go ahead and tweak the settings so that I can get the most out of the specs that I've got to work with here. So, the specs are running, the settings are running a little bit modified so that way I can, play this at a playable frame rate. But you can tell that the problem that's having with emulation is that games that require a lot of polygons on screen or a very deep field of view, depth of, whatever environment you're in, the ones that don't require a lot of that, those ones work very well. But when you have these big landscapes, you see it's kind of slowing down right here when I can see into the distance. But if I'm right here against the walls, then this right here, this is pretty much running full speed. So you see, yeah, that's what you gotta look out for. Unfortunately, with this era in gaming, with 3D gaming and whatnot, that's really where people wanted to have very deep environments. So because of that, it's very hard to find a PS2 game which is simple enough to run on this thing at full speed. However, like I said, it is totally playable. I do enjoy it. And yeah, I could totally play this. I'm actually probably going to try to beat this game with this because I'm just having a very grand old time. But yeah, oh, this game, it's so good. You guys gotta try it. Ah, bastard. Get over here. Get over here. I'm not gonna let that fly. Hey! Wait. There we go. Got him. Okay, now we can get out. So, I've had my revenge. We could get out. I didn't test all the emulation that I wanted to try out. For instance, I did not try out N64 emulation, which I should have. And also CMU, the Wii U emulator. I did not try that, but I have seen other people run it on this. I don't know if it runs well, but if you guys want to see that, just tell me. I think they were playing one of the Zelda remasters on this, but that is a possibility. So let me know if you guys want to see that. Also, let me know if you want to see any other forms of emulation, any other PC titles, Steam titles. Tell me and we will see what we could do about that. I want to revisit this device. I will make a follow-up video in about 2 weeks or so. So shoot me some requests, so then let's see what we could do about that. Whether it runs or not, I'll go ahead and show you. And because that way you guys can know what this thing can actually run. I think that's important to know what are the limits of this device. Because any way you put it, it is a very limited device. So I think it's important to know those boundaries right there. And that brings us to the question, do I recommend this device? And my answer is no. I do not recommend this device to everyone because it is having way too many issues for a $400 device. $400 is a very tough pill to swallow. It's a lot of money. I mean, the Nintendo Switch, what is it, like $250 or something? And that one, I mean, the UI and everything, from what I hear, runs like a charm. This thing, though, it's having those little tiny issues, with the restart, the battery, all that. Nobody is going to forgive this thing for having those issues and being $400 at the same time. I know the gamers are the pickiest motherfuckers on the planet. You guys are going to give it no sympathy for that, no matter if it came from a small brand, whatever. It came from Indiegogo, which is really fucking amazing that this is an Indiegogo that delivered. But anyways, back on track. This thing was very expensive. I got it for free. You almost definitely are not going to get it for free. And I have to think about whether I could recommend it at $400. And to that, I have to say I'm sorry, but no. Not to everybody. I know that there are tons of people who like this. In the Smash Z video, they were all over the comments. People are all saying like, oh, geez, I hope you like it. You're gonna love this thing. It's great. I love it. And I agree with you. I love this thing, and this is going to go with me everywhere. I'm really enjoying this. But again, if I'm going to make a very unbiased, very objective review, I have to think about whether other people are going to enjoy it, not just me. Me, I love this thing. But you have to understand where I'm coming from. I'm a person who has three boxed Watara Supervisions. I am not your typical gamer. I'm not your typical PC gamer. I'm a very disturbed individual who is not put off by a device that has the little quirks that this one does. And I think the vast majority of people out there are not going to like this device because, again, it's having all those problems for being such an expensive device. It should not be having those problems. Now, as far as what it does, as long as you keep your expectations tempered so that way you know that you're not going to be playing AAA games at 120 frames per second, I think that you're going to do just fine. I don't think that that's going to be an issue for you when you go into this device. Again, other people will not, but those people have their head in the clouds. Because whenever you have a mobile device, I don't care if it's from Nintendo, Sony, GPD, anything. Whenever you have a mobile device, it is an exercise in compromises. I cannot think of a mobile device that does not have any compromises. They all do. Every single one of them, whether it's battery power, screen resolution, the power of their CPUs or anything, their controls, all of them have compromises. So therefore, you have to go into this knowing that it's not going to function like a desktop PC. It is a very unique device. Now, like I said though, like I hinted to in that little rant right there, I love this thing. It's going to go with me everywhere. Whenever I go on a trip, this thing is going in the bag because it is just so amazing. I love it. It has changed the way that I play PC games. The way that I play my Steam library. That's how I should put it. Because here's the thing. This thing, you can argue up and down about its specs, about the power, the battery life, whatever. You can argue whatever metrics, but you cannot put a metric on the experience that I've had of it changing the way that I play PC games. It has, because now I've even started packing lunches to go to work where usually I didn't, but I now pack lunches to go to work instead of going home for lunch because I'm like, you know what? at work today, I'm going to take my own lunch, I'm going to wolf it down, right after I get off the clock, and then I'm going to play this thing during my lunch hour. So it kind of divided my library between the games I play on my desktop PC and the games I play on the go on this thing. So it has actually changed how I approach my Steam catalog. It's helped me get rid of my backlog because I'm playing a lot of smaller games that used to just be backlog fodder, but now I'm actually getting down to play them. So that is something that you cannot put a metric on, you can't put a number on that, but it's an incredible amount of value. I don't know if that value is worth $400 to you, but you have to know that that is actually a very, very good value that you're getting out of this device. Okay, so I really like this thing, but I cannot recommend it to the general public. However, for all the GPD fans out there who really like this thing, who said that I would like it, who were preaching up and down about it, don't worry, I'm totally in your camp. I love this thing. You shouldn't even have to worry about what other people think about this device, because a lot of people out there, the reason I can't recommend it is because a lot of people just won't get this thing. They won't get what it's trying to do. But for those of us who do get it, we're having a lot of fun with it. Now, there is one way, though, that I could give this thing an instant recommendation. When I could just say to anybody who's on the fence with this, go ahead and get into it. Buy it, put your money down right now. The way that I could do that is by saying that, you know what, GPD has the whole market to themselves. PGS was a scam from the outset. Smash Z is not far behind. You can watch my video if you don't believe me. Yeah, this is your only option. This is the only one on the market. Now, I like to think that there is going to be a GPD Win 2. There is going to be, some future for this thing, and hopefully with a better chipset, with something very beefy and impressive. But they say that that's probably not going to happen because they're no longer making small Intel chips, the mobile Intel chips, which this thing runs on. So there's no more development happening with that. So there's nowhere for this thing to go. But I am of the opinion that technology will always get smaller, and maybe there's nothing on the drawing board yet, but there will be. And then we will have a GPD Win 2, or maybe from a different manufacturer, which will be very impressive. I don't know if you want to wait that long or just get this, but if you're in the market for this thing, if you're on the fence, I say go for it because I'm liking it. It's okay if other people don't like it. I think that we'll be just fine in our own little community. Now, before I go, I want to give a big thank you to GearBest.com. They're the ones who made this review possible. You can buy the GPD Win on their website. And a few days ago, they sent me a message asking if I could also tell you guys about the GPD Pocket. And I told them, sure. I was going to talk about it anyways once I talked about GPD. However, the reason I wanted to bring it up is because it is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. From what I could tell, it's similar to the GPD Win, except it has more RAM and storage. But otherwise, it's a Windows laptop, and they want to sell it for an eye-watering $500. It's really hard to imagine the kind of market they're going for, but I don't think they're going for professionals because the keyboard is just a little bit too limited. It seems very cramped. I don't think anybody is going to be word processing on this thing. When it comes to laptops that are this small, I really fail to see what they do better than what a good phone would do. However, one thing they did superbly was their pitch on Indiegogo. It's awesome. Let me read a little bit to you. Imagine a scene where a fashionable woman takes a 7-inch laptop from her shoulder bag, with a cup of coffee placing next to her. She drinks coffee while gracefully typing the text on her keyboard to chat with the girlfriends. I believe a lot of fashionable women will be crazy to have such a pocket laptop. Otherwise, she needs to carry a bulky MacBook Air. A Linux engineer drinks coffee while operating Vim to program scripts with Pocket. Isn't it all fashionable people's dream? I am not shitting you. That is word for word from their pitch. So yeah, you see, I could find a way to recommend the GPD Win because it's awesome, but I don't think I could find a way to recommend the GPD Pocket. I just don't know what they're trying to do right there. I think it's a step in the wrong direction. I hope they can make a GPD Win 2, but this is not it. But if you are a fashionable woman and you do want a GPD Pocket, then you could find that as well on GearBest.com. So yes, many thanks to them. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.